don't know? Tracing our ancestry from bacteria to modern man. Have you ever wondered what human beings were like billions of years ago? Well, let me take you on an exciting trip into the fascinating world of prehistoric life. Evolution first started out as bacteria, the leap from one-celled organisms to many-celled organisms, a development that eventually led to all animals, including human beings. In its 4.6 billion years, the Earth has harbored a diversity of very strange, normal, or complex life forms. My presentation will start in the Cambrian period, 550 million years ago. And this is the prehistoric timeline. First is the Cambrian period, then the Ordovician period, the Silurian, the Devonian, the Mississippian, and the Prehistoric, which together make the Carboniferous, and the Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, and the Cenozoic periods. The Paleozoic era. The Paleozoic is the longest and most diverse era of the Phanerozoic. This time marked an explosion of living forms from the very early multicellular life that lived in the oceans to more advanced invertebrates and plants that colonized the land, like human beings. The Cambrian period, also known as the Cambrian explosion. The Cambrian period marked a dramatic burst of evolutionary changes in life on Earth. The biological bonanza was due to high oxygen levels, thanks to emissions from photosynthesizing cyanobacteria and algae. Among the animals that evolved were chloridites, to which vertebrates such as human beings belong. The largest predators were, of course, Anomalocaris. Anomalocaris was a 5-foot killer. It hunted trilobites and marella. Even stranger was the 5-eyed, the size of your thumb, Obonia. It had a huge hand protruding from its head, clawed with teeth. And apparently, our ancestor was a tiny fish called Hypoichthys. Hypoichthys was a jawless fish that hunted the seas of the Cambrian period. It was our ancestor, and it was the very first vertebrate. The Ordovician period. During this period, a rich variety of marine life flourished, and the first primitive plants began to appear on land. Chief among the marine creatures were the giant squid-like nautiloids, a tentacled mollusk such as the orthocones. They were accomplished swimmers, propelling themselves are, well, you can see that they look like hairless dogs, but in fact they're the most venomous prehistoric creature ever known. And another creature, the Trismatosuchus, fed on the Plagiasaurus and other creatures as it was a crocodile-like animal. And as we said, this is Coelophysis. This is Rudidon, another archosaur-like Postosuchus or a Pylosaur. This is Desmatosuchus. You can call it a link crocodile
There were going to be two surprise quizzes. One I already gave you in the beginning. The second one is now on what he's just presented. Alright, so we start with the Q&A session. I have a few questions for Pritvik. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to sit next to him. And I'm sure you'll ask him. And after that, we'll throw it open. Also, I'd like to maybe have a question for the parents. And then it's open to the audience. After this, we have our last event of the evening, after which there's just music and entertainment. So, you know, don't think it's going to be too long. So, I just need one more. You've got all the stuff in your head, but I've got my questions down. Okay, one thing I always wanted to ask with people who want to know, why is fascination with dinosaurs?
Well, because of dinosaurs, they're prehistoric creatures. They're very strange. They're totally different from any modern animal, even the most bizarre. So I was really thrilled to understand them, and also the fact that when you're out in your backyard, I don't think you realize that a few 100 million years ago, dinosaurs were there.
And I mean, okay, I understand you really, you know, it all began with you imagine or wondering about how life on Earth began, and then you picked on one thing like dinosaur, which was your focus of interest. You have to start somewhere. You've done it all. You've learned, you've read, you know that you work the capacity and amazing ability to do it. But why write books? Where is that motivation to write books coming from? Where did that come from?
Well, apparently, when, as you said, my teachers in the library school asked me to take classes, when that happened, everyone I taught, they couldn't really understand what I was saying.
Okay, now I'm getting it sort of.
So, I put it in the form of this book,
Okay.
When Dinosaurs Roamed the Earth.
So guys, let me do that. I get it now. No, it makes sense now. That's really interesting. So it was purely because you thought you weren't getting across to this guy whom you were teaching. Make it simpler for them, a little more interesting. Okay. The other thing I noticed was your interest in radioactivity. You know, there's a book on that you've written down. So where did that come from? Where is this radioactivity special?
Well, I was first interested in how radiation causes mutations, and how can the mutations be altered, and how bizarre can they be?
Okay, alright. So that's kind of a very key phenomenon which explains a lot of stuff that went on in our natural evolution. Right. Okay, on a more lighter note, how do you spend
I do spend time on school studies and other hobbies, but most of the time I spend on paleontology.
So in a typical day or a typical week, what percent of how many hours do you spend on a day on homework, schoolwork, and your research?
I usually do homework and schoolwork very quickly, like 2 hours. So most of the days I spend 2 hours on the homework and studies and 5 or 6 hours on paleontology.
Okay, don't tell me you need 2 hours to finish your homework?
Yes!
Come on!
It's that easy! It's that easy!
So that's why I thought it would be less than that. Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of work. So you spend like 4 or 5 hours on your research. So get it, 2 hours on homework, 4 or 5 hours on research.
He does his study materials also. What he teaches in school, all those things.
He's got to go through his classes next day.
The next day.
The classes, the thing he's got to teach these kids about all these things. It's not going in very easily. So he's writing books. So he's spending a lot of time in kind of educating other guys and trying to bring up the average IQ of people. So that's good. Okay. I won't have any more questions. Just one last question is, you've said that you want to be a paleontologist, a herpetologist, and an environmentalist. So I mean, How do this all come together? What are you going to focus on?
Well, in paleontology, I'm really going to combine the DNA of a bird, say a falcon or an ostrich, with a crocodile or a lizard. When you do that, and insert it into the embryo, you either get a dinosaur, or something that is like a dinosaur. And for being a herpetologist, lizards, when you cut off a limb, say a tail, they regenerate back. It's usually like in geckos or iguanas. And I want to combine that specific strand of lizard DNA with a specific strand of human DNA. Then human beings could regenerate lost limbs.
Ah, okay. I'm sure.
And for being an environmentalist, Abu Dhabi is coming on with nuclear power plants, one on stream every year until 2020. So what I'd like to do is just make sure that they're ready for and have a long-term solution for the radioactive waste. So in doing that, I found out that strontium-90 from green algae could clear the radioactivity from wastewater, that the wastewater can be easily treated. And then that water can go so far as to be used for cleaning and watering plants.
I've understood most of what you said, but that's really fantastic. I think someone like you has got a lot to contribute to the community. It's really nice to hear all that you say. But there's also a question I have for Indra, your mother. Can someone pass on a mic to her? I don't know whether you must be asked this question. How do you just want to know? I'm sure you're amazing. You're immensely proud of Pritvik and all these things. But how is it like at home bringing up someone?
Very difficult. Very, very difficult. I mean, he's very unusual and takes a lot of effort to, make him go outside and play with, with the boys, play football or cricket, or watch videos. Video games, playing video games. He's not interested in anything.
I don't play video games.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's the thing. So when his play dates happen, his friends and all get bored, and he's doing his own stuff, and they are actually playing their own things. So it becomes a big problem because he's constantly. It's a big challenge. He's constantly into books, constantly into experiments. The whole house is turned into a lab and library. So it's like.
Okay, that's interesting. Does anybody else have any questions here? Sure. Yeah, there was a long time coming. You were keeping quiet for so long. Finally, good.
Pritvik, only the other day while I was driving, I was thinking that if we didn't have eyes, then we would be falling everywhere. Then I thought that in the whole timeline of evolution, where did eyes come? When from a single cell we started. So when did the nature give us eyes or something like that? Have you thought about that and worked on that?
I did, because in the Cambrian period, eyes had evolved in trilobites and Anomalocaris because it gave predators and prey an edge, because it's really another way of sensing anything else. If we didn't have eyes, we could only rely on hearing and smell, and sometimes that just doesn't work. Like through water, you can't really smell that much through water, and hearing, if it's a very long distance away, it's not so clear.
How big were these animals, if we can call them, before they could develop eyes? Because otherwise a lot of animals could be just falling over the cliffs.
No animals lived on land in the Cambrian, but in the ocean, they did develop senses like smell and hearing, but for that they needed to get closer to their prey, so to develop eyes, then they could see their prey and their predators and each other.
Any other question?
Does that,
And it makes a lot of sense also that eyes got developed before creatures came out of water and couldn't fall over the place. And what about nose, smelling senses?
That already evolved. When life started out as bacteria, evolved into simple creatures. Nose, hearing, and maybe taste evolved into simple organisms. Sight was something to come later.
I guess one important thing also was that these animals which grew so large, they grew large because, like he says, there was more oxygen at that time, but they were also cold-blooded. So that, because if someone like human beings grew larger, we would just overheat and die.
Yeah, and another thing, reptiles, any cold-blooded creatures, usually depend on oxygen to make them larger. Maybe evolution, but it's usually the oxygen, especially in insects. You can even do this directly. If you have something like an oxygen mask, insects do breathe, and if you put a cricket in an oxygen mask and make it breathe and breathe and breathe in lots and lots of oxygen, it might double or triple its size.
One more question. Somewhere around that you said that this thing roared like a beer.
What?
You said about one of the pre-Jurassic or Jurassic area animal that it roared like a beer.
Bear. Roared growled like a bear, they say.
No, do you mean Nocronitis?
I don't remember the name. Some dinosaur like him, well, you were saying that it roared like a bear.
Okay, basically he's got one more book for you. He's going to write another book.
There's no dinosaur that roars like a bear!
And something else?
That bear, I think the last whatever is the period it said. I think there was a bear.
Arcturus!
Yeah.
How do you know that it roared like a bear?
Because it is a bear! It's just a giant bear with a short face.
Okay, I have a small advice for you. What you should do now is just grin and bear it. Mr. Pritvik Sinhadc, has just raised the average IQ of this august crowd, which is otherwise proud about it.
But you are reducing it.
So, anyway, this is all in fun. We are all friends. Joking with each other. So, any other questions where you remember the question? Yeah, okay. There's a junior with a question there. Just pass the mic there.
Alright, I have a question for you. It's kind of personal, but it's very important for everyone in the audience. And the question is, are you tired of people being condescending towards you because of your age?
No.
Maybe so.
Will be soon, he said. How come you know that?
I wish one day I could be as tolerant as you. Alright, thank you.
Alright, okay. Anything else?
Yeah, he has.
Can I, since I have a mic, can I provide? I have a question to take.
Just because you have a mic, you don't have to ask a question. If you have a question, you have to ask.
Okay, my question is that the statement that human beings evolved from monkeys, do you believe in it or not?
Is it?
Yes, they did because, well, human beings and primates, they share several features, like a complex brain, social skills, and other things.
In fact, they say chimpanzees are the closest, right?
Yeah, chimpanzees, and also a monkey, an ape called Australopithecus. We human beings evolved from that specific ape, which was a type of chimpanzee.
We have a problem with that? So what? We become chimpanzees. We're good creatures.
At least we didn't evolve from flies.
the last event of the day, Pritvik